A huge deal signed between NXT and CW means big money for WWE. TKO releases Q3 ratings, first one with WWE and UFC together. And we have a very special announcement from our GM, Dan Shevlin, this time on Wrestling with the Business.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of Wrestling with the Business, episode 31? 31. We're hitting middle age here. So we got a lot of news to cover this week. Big one being NXT has found a new, unlikely maybe channel to land on. So we'll get into that a little later. Let's start out with some WWE news, though. Some smaller headlines before we get into the big stuff. Logan Paul just won the United States Championship at Crown Jewel.
Love it.
Yeah, you predicted
I was going to
it.
ask you.
Love it.
Because we had kind of predicted that. That was really the only prediction we had made for Crown Jewel, was that there could be an upset with that
Big
giving
fan.
the title to Logan Paul. He's saying he's going to have to be around more now that he has the belt.
I would assume so.
Obviously, he's a good performer in the ring. He's been in and out for 2 years.
What's the negatives? There's really none. I mean, what are the negatives?
Here's the negative. The negative is, are you creating another Roman Reigns with a champion that's not really going to be around?
I don't think that's Logan Paul's nature, to be honest with you. You know, I think it's a contract that's structured the right way, where I think the way it's worked out, and I'm sure Logan Paul has a contract where he's got to appear so many dates, whatever. I'm sure WWE said, you know what, we're going to make a title run, but for you to do a title run, we need to stack all your dates together, right? Because I'm sure Logan Paul is not signing on to not have some kind of title run, right? Come on. He's not, Logan Paul is an image guy.
Yeah, but
He's
he had
all
been
about,
at it for long enough after 2 years. I think that people had kind of went, oh, maybe he is.
But he does a lot more outside of WWE.
Oh, yeah.
His win-loss is a big thing for him, even though this may be scripted. It's still a big thing for us. I think they said, look, if you're going to do a title run, we're going to have all your dates together. So I think that's why he's been a little bit less present on the first side of his contract, and now I'm sure they got a lot of dates stacked up. Now, yeah, maybe 1 out of every 3 episodes he's not there, but I do think he's going to be more visible than a lot of the other part-time or special or celebrity champions that have been there in the past. But I think I see no negative out of it. I think Logan Paul is a great personality, and quite frankly, I don't think he's that bad of a wrestler either. He can
not
do
bad.
some. He can do some
You
stuff.
gotta give him credit.
You know,
Does that mean he's going to be wrestling on TV, though?
Do you need to be wrestling though?
Well,
I mean, just coming out for segments should be good
I was
enough.
going to say, we just got this huge deal between Universal for SmackDown and WWE. I wonder if this wasn't one of the, because he won the U.S. Championship, that's a SmackDown title. I wonder if that wasn't one of the, well, we're going to draw. Promises have been made in the past and have not kept. But Universal and WWE have a long-standing relationship that has not been hot and cold.
But
It's
he
been
won't be
very
champion
hot.
by the time it gets to by the time it gets to.
You think he's
Universal.
going to drop the belt within?
Well, I mean, Universal USA is not getting SmackDown until October next year.
next year.
He's gonna be a champion for a year. I doubt that.
I don't know. Gunther's held on to his title for what, 500 days or more now?
I think we have a serious problem in the wrestling world if 3 of the major titles aren't switching hands.
In that case, it is a Roman Reigns situation, and people will not go.
I don't foresee that. I think he'll be a good champion to like WrestleMania. Good stories through the winter, some cool segments, different
You
things.
think he drops the belt at
Oh
WrestleMania?
yeah, for sure.
Or
But he'll drop it as a clearly like a 3-way match or something. He won't actually lose the title. They'll come up with something where he loses it, but he really didn't take the loss type situation. I got like a fatal 4-way or elimination chamber match or whatever they have scheduled coming up. It'll be something like that.
I don't think they're going to put the belt up again in Elimination Chamber. They just did it last year. So, WrestleMania. I mean, if he's going to drop it, WrestleMania's the place.
Or maybe the Rumble, something like that.
Sure.
One of
Okay.
the big ones. All right, so moving on.
the briefcase. Someone could cash in their Money in the Bank. That's
Well, it
another
won't
way.
be somebody. We
It'll
know
be-
who it'll be.
Yeah, it'll be Priest.
But he's been targeting that World
Yeah, I don't
Championship
think
for
he's
so
after it
long.
yet.
Yeah.
That would be quite a hit to his image.
Moving from that to another part-timer, John Cena, who, because of the actor strike, has been on TV a lot more lately, but looking like the actor strike is going to be ending soon.
Looks like it, yeah.
So Cena already said once the actor strike's over, he's going to be gone, but does that mean he's going to be retired? Some scuttlebutt going around about him retiring completely from the ring, so
Yeah, I mean, after the huge, I mean, he's been. I think he hasn't won on TV in a singles match in like 5 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so he's. You know, we all talk about how the old guys have to put the young guys over, but when you're not really around and you're not looking as big as you used to, and you've lost every singles match for the last 4 years. Let's talk about Austin Theory's great, what was supposed to be his big WrestleMania moment with John Cena, going over John Cena. It didn't do shit for him. As a matter of fact, it probably was the beginning of the end of Austin Theory's, of everybody's faith that Austin Theory could hold the championship. They probably was like, yeah, we need to take the belt off of him soon because, and they ended up obviously doing it. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Sikoa just spiked him into the ground. It's not going to do anything for Sikoa. If it didn't do anything for Austin Theory, it's not going to do anything for Solo. So I think he needs to retire. Like, you need to at least go away for a while. He's 46. He's no spring chicken.
I thought he was older than that. I thought he was pushing 50 now.
No, he got started early.
Are you saying he should retire?
Huh?
Are you saying you think he should retire?
I think he should retire from in-ring
Still
work.
make occasional appearances.
He should come back and do what The Rock does. I mean, when's the last time The Rock wrestled in the ring?
That was the WrestleMania where he did the quick squash with Eric Rowan. I think that was the last.
Was that 3?
That was WrestleMania 30, 31, 32, something like that.
So it's literally been 8 years since.
As far as
The Rock.
I
But
can
he comes
remember,
back
yeah.
and he electrifies the crowd. I mean, look, he gets a huge pop every time he comes out. I mean, he still adds value to the company. But it's going to get to a point where he's going to have so many movies lined up he can't wrestle because he risks injury. And the movies won't let him do that.
Right. I think the issue with Cena, I don't necessarily think it's his age. I think he's busy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's moved on. I think like The Rock and like most wrestlers that compete in the ring, they like to come back. The actor strike gave him a unique opportunity to come back and do a cool storyline. Do I think he's been teasing retirement for the last 5 years.
Can he come back in 3 and 4 years when there's another strike with the actors after their contract expires?
No, I mean,
AI has now taken full control of all the acting and writing.
I mean, do I think he should retire? No, he's not going to come out and say I'm retired. I think
he just doesn't add value, I guess, is what I'm saying.
No, I think he adds value. I think it's like I think he's just got to be,
but not by wrestling.
No, I still think he's 46 years old. I was looking him up a few minutes ago. He's 46 years old. I mean, Sting is 64, and he's wrestling a match.
I'm just saying,
that's a 20-year difference. So Sting.
It's not about ability though. It's about like what adds value. Like,
John Cena, no matter what the storyline is, John Cena being in the ring is going to give much added value. Doesn't matter what the story. When you look at the Mount Rushmore, the top 5 of wrestlers in all of wrestling, Cena's got to be in there. You're talking Rock, Stone Cold, John Cena, Hulk Hogan,
Sting, Ric Flair.
Yeah, like you're talking to maybe top 6. So when you talk, let's say top 10, right? Okay, he's in the top 10, and those top 10 guys have the right to come in the ring anytime they want. And you know what? Doesn't matter what they're going to give value. And he's earned that right.
You hear what he just said, right? Ric Flair can come back anytime he wants because he's on the top.
I never said Ric Flair's in the top 10. He may be in your top 10, but he may not necessarily be in mine.
I'm not going to get into this.
But I'm saying, I
bet you Cena thinks Ric Flair's in the top 10.
Well, he probably does. Yeah, I don't think there needs to be a. I think he's going to tease any conversation he has. The Rock. How many times does The Rock tease retirement? He comes back for a segment. Like, there's just no why. Don't just leave
it's
it
a
alone.
work though.
Coming back for a segment is different than wrestling.
yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. He should come back and rile the crowd up. He should host WrestleMania. He should sign and he should instigate feuds between people in the ring. He can add value that way.
Hidden AA
But
on Grayson Waller. And
you've got John Cena here when he's in the ring talking, and you've got John Cena like here if he's in the ring wrestling. Like, it doesn't add any additional value. It's not like, oh, Cena's going to be wrestling? Oh, I got to show up. No, Cena's going to appear.
I think Cena can be in matches where his poor performance can be hidden. Like, an Elimination Chamber
he gets
match, a
gassed
Hell
so
in a
quick now.
Hell in a Cell, a triple threat, a Fatal 4, a tag match.
Special referee.
Someone where some younger people can outshine the match, and Cena can a 1v1 match. No, I don't think you see many 1v1 matches with John Cena anymore. No.
Yeah.
They'll disguise it in a different type of match. If he does any at all, he may not.
Interesting.
Well, moving on from that to one of Cena's arch rivals, The Miz. The Miz made a surprising babyface turn this past week. Him and Bayley both, actually, made some babyface turns. I didn't actually see the shows this week, did they?
It was very
Done well?
I mean, we had been talking about how Bayley needs to go back, needs to do a face turn. How heel Bayley hasn't worked. She went away.
It worked for a while. It's been getting stale though.
Well, I think
like during the pandemic, her heel work was fantastic.
I mean, I guess I'm really thinking like since Damage Control.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone well.
It started out good, but it's gotten a little old.
And she kind of went away for a little while, and now she's back and she's done a face turn. It did not go over great. No, she did not. There was not a lot of excitement. I think that like you said, dragging the heel turn, carrying that heel gimmick for as long as they did, it did a lot of damage to her brand overall, and it really hurt her. You know, The Miz, he's kind of indestructible. You can kind of do anything with him.
I think The Miz makes for a great heel.
He's not as good as a face, but
I mean,
the crowd
I think.
will take him.
But I mean, The Miz, I've always said, is one of the most underrated. They really just shit on him. I think he is Universal title champion caliber.
Yeah,
material.
he'd be in the Mount Rushmore of underutilized talent. And Dolph Ziggler.
No, but you guys, I've said this before on this show. Like, there's a lot of similarity between The Rock and The Miz. Obviously, The Rock, The Miz, they kind of have the same type of entrance. They have the catchphrases. Like, why not utilize that? Like, why not try to make another? Like, WWE talks about all this stuff. They talk about how they want to recreate, or create these icons and all this. Like, you really you had it right in front of you with The Miz, and it's just like they continue to shit. Reality shows.
He's not big enough.
Yeah, he's been champion a couple of times, and the first time he was champion, it didn't really get over very well. And then a few years ago when he was feuding with Shane McMahon, everyone wanted him to turn babyface. He did. They put the belt on him, and that kind of fizzled out too. It wasn't really anything spectacular. So, yeah, I agree with you. He is definitely a top tier wrestler, and he can be used in any position, but then at the same time, when he's getting used, people don't want to see it. It's weird with him.
Yeah. I think he's a great. Like, when I play my WWE 2K23 GM mode, I make him my top heel. He's my number one. I think he's just a great. I like his personality. I think he's a great.
It is interesting. There's a madness to crowds, but sometimes there's a wisdom to it too, and I think the audience will tell you where a wrestler's best spot is supposed to be. And I think about it with Macho Man. Like, none of his World Championship runs were particularly great, but his Intercontinental Championship run was fucking epic, right? Was awesome. His feuds were great. His matches were exceptional. That's kind of the crowd and the business telling you where you belong. Doesn't mean you can't be great, but yeah, maybe he really doesn't belong at the top of the ticket. Maybe he's just a solid mid-card guy that you can do anything with. And I don't know.
But he's also become the new number one contender for the IC title against Gunther. Is that the reason for the face turn, you think? Or
I think the question that I had in regards to this was one, can he stand toe-to-toe with Gunther, especially given the fact that Gunther's fought off Drew McIntyre. Like, he's fought off some real beasts. And now you got The Miz standing up acting like some kind of a number one contender. But then at the same time, does that mean that despite their incredible depth and talent, WWE hasn't done the work to support Gunther in this 500-day title reign? Like,
do we really think...
He hasn't lost on the main roster. He's the new
Do we
Goldberg.
really think Miz can take the title away from him?
no, it's a transition feud.
And that's the problem, right? The problem is we don't have anybody to feud with our champions anymore. We've built them up. We've made them so big. Everybody else looks small. Same thing with Roman Reigns. Like, Cody Rhodes challenged him for it, got screw jobbed out of it, but can anybody but Roman Reigns, or that Cody challenge Roman Reigns for the title right now? No, I can't think of anybody. Same thing here with the Intercontinental Championship. And the only reason why you'd say that with the USA Championship is because little Logan Paul is the one who has it. He just got it. Like, Literally, there's no threat of titles changing hands between now and WrestleMania. I see no reason to take the title off of anybody for any reason.
Yeah.
If you do, it looks like an act of desperation. It's like, oh, well, he's had it for
Well, I
500
can see
days.
Seth Rollins losing it.
To who? He's beaten everybody.
I'm just saying a random. I mean, you got to have some action. I mean, the way that title was presented to all of us.
He just beat Drew
Am I wrong?
McIntyre to keep
I get
it.
that, but the way the title was presented to all of us on when Triple H came out with it is that it's gonna be a title that's defended all the time. People are gonna get like that. Should be a title that's really moving every 3 months to someone different.
The only way that title comes off of him is if you write it into Damian Priest.
It
Right.
should be different. Like Finn Balor should have an opportunity with it. Priest should have an opportunity. Like, you know, all these guys. I mean,
There's only one man who threatens for any title right now, and that's Damian Priest because he holds the briefcase.
and he's getting a lot of praise backstage right
And
now.
nobody
A ton.
nobody else is a viable threat for any of these titles because they've been handedly defeated by these champions for too long. They've reigned it too long. I agree with you. Seth Rollins should have dropped that title 2-3 months ago.
But he's deserved to have it. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I feel like Seth Rollins has really been the guy that's taken a lot of the shit from Roman Reigns not giving up the belt.
They should have
'Cause
The
Seth
Miz.
Rollins is uniform. I mean, like there's some serious guys that have like. If I'm Kevin Owens, I'm a little upset. If I'm Seth Rollins, if I'm Finn Balor, I'm a little upset.
Miz Seth Rollins would be a viable one that you could build something behind, I think. But they're not going in that direction. They're both Raw.
And I'll tell you right now, who's due to come back pretty soon. I'll tell you right now, they're going to throw him right into the title mix the minute he comes back. 'Cause they
Orton.
always do. Randy Orton.
Yeah.
They always throw him into the
They've been
title mix.
teasing his
And you know,
return for like
the
a
sad
year.
thing is,
He's
here's the
supposed to
thing
be
is,
back at Survivor Series.
the sad thing is, he wins the belts. They give it to him.
Yeah, he's a 14-time champion now.
They give it to him. Like that's like he would show up and challenge Seth Rollins, and they would give it to him. They would give him the belt. How many
Yeah.
times they've done that where he's shown up out of the blue and just takes the WWE Championship and he has it now? And I remember saying the last time he won the title, I'm like, Randy Orton's getting a title run right now?
That would be an interesting swerve. Randy comes back, wins the title, and then Priest turns
Cashes
into Money
in.
in the Bank and takes it. That'd be a good swerve.
Not bad.
I'd take that.
But is that going to happen at Survivor Series? Which is now Survivor Series War Games.
Why do you think that is?
They gotta. I mean, it's been War Games the past year or two. They gotta try and get eyes on the show. That's their premier. That's Triple H's favorite gimmick to do now.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there's much story to it, especially
No.
when you do a late
No,
announcement.
it's just like Hell in the Cell. It's just like TLC. It's just
I
another
think it's
gimmick.
different. Give it a try, do it.
No, they've already done it. Though.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
but just
different.
When it first came back in NXT, it was something special, something exciting. But
Wasn't there a controversy over War Games? Or no, sorry, that was Hell in a Cell when Fox was battling with Universal and they all wanted their own.
yeah.
They had like what was it, like 6 Hell in a Cell matches?
four Hell in a Cell matches in 4 days. Yeah,
So much death.
yeah. That's why Fox doesn't want SmackDown anymore.
But
So yeah, they were back and forth on the War Games being at Survivor Series, but now it's gonna happen. It's in the title, so obviously the belt isn't gonna be on the line in the War Games match, but they might do a separate match. Maybe that's when Seth is gonna lose the belt.
this should really shake things up. How are we going to do prediction-wise with our War Game? You know, we're putting the Divas title on the line.
You just pick the winning team. That's how it goes.
That'd be an interesting Falls prediction.
All right, sticking with WWE, a couple more issues here. TKO Q3 earnings came out this week. Anything interesting in there?
Yeah, nothing interesting. They kind of did an adjustment because obviously it's only been like a month or something that they had data for WWE. But one interesting thing of note to give you some credit, Dan, is it seems like revenue and profitability-wise, I'm not seeing a lot of sunlight between WWE and UFC, which is kind of what you were saying before during the initial acquisition. You didn't understand why UFC was valued 25+% higher than.
What was it? 12 billion for
WWE
UFC and then 9 for WWE. I think was the
12
final
something and
number.
9 something. Yeah, it was about 25% more.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean,
You know, you actually made the argument that WWE you thought was a lot more valuable than UFC.
Oh, I think it did. I think it did. I think it's gonna be interesting to see as they start doing more of these quarterly reports just how I think it. I believe in like the politics and stuff and all that. You have a company that in essence is run by UFC. It's not WWE. It's run by UFC. Endeavor. I don't think
because of Ari.
Yeah, I didn't think it crossed. I mean, look at the company in whole, right? Their CFO, their CEO. I mean, it's all UFC for the most part. TKO is going to be a UFC heavy business. WWE brings a lot to the table, but WWE is never going to get that priority.
They're a minority. Yeah, they're
just never going to get that. So when I sit here and I look at those numbers, and I could be slightly off, but I'm pretty sure I saw that UFC was up 17%. 12% maybe
over last year.
17. Over last quarter, I think, right?
17, yeah. It was
and
17.
WWE was down 8. They said, and when I look at that, I'm like, okay, it's the classic. Like we're not gonna let WWE outshine UFC.
Well, down 8 after WrestleMania, after the quarter with WrestleMania.
I'm very interested to see the reports for quarters 1, 2. Maybe even like 1 and 2. When you start throwing in that winter rush, you got Survivor Series, you got the WrestleManias, and the TV deals start coming in. I want to see WWE's numbers when all that stuff starts to show, and they have to, because now you have the same company reporting UFC and WWE, right? I mean, I don't know what UFC has done the last 3 months that really signifies them being higher than WWE. I haven't seen anything exciting with them. They
did 18 events, live events,
I think
right?
They said 18.
And how many has WWE had?
Well, 3 a week for.
I mean,
yeah.
For
every live show that
36.
WWE has, it's the same audience that UFC is getting for the 18 shows that they have. So it's kind of like they are filling out the same arenas, right? There's not much of a difference in the arena.
Well,
they're not doing stadiums. They're both doing.
There is
arenas.
a difference in that UFC is pretty much home based Las Vegas.
Well, yeah,
That's
but
where
it's
their
still
shows are.
arena size. It's the same.
No, I'm just saying like you're not dealing with the travel expenses associated with picking up your
yes.
show and moving it and stuff like that.
But you look at what the math has never made any sense to me. It's kind of like WWE has a lot. I think they said WWE, the reasoning why it was down was because they took their WWE website, the store,
the merchandise,
and they moved it to the third-party Fanatics.
And
they're blaming that for the
same
reason.
excuse they gave on WWE's last quarterly earnings call.
And
they're going to ride that into the sunset.
And then whatever article I was reading, it was on Cage side. It was like that's just probably an item that they just didn't put in correctly. That maybe at the end of the day they actually did make money. It's just the way it got reported.
It was in a different pocket.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like I think you're going to see that a little bit. I think you're going to see. I don't think you can ever look. If I'm Ari, are you ever going to let WWE outshine your boy UFC? I don't know. Like, is that? I mean, do you think that's? I mean,
it would make business sense if it was more profitable, wouldn't it?
If I'm Ari and I'm talking to the board or I'm talking to the shareholders of TKO, I want to say to them, we are a brotherhood. We work together. We complement each other. So I might want to say something like, hey, UFC is kind of the workhorse. They do 1 show a week, boom, boom, boom. But then we got big events like WrestleMania where we take over an entire city. So I would want to make it look like the same thing that Dana White was kind of doing, putting his arm around Vince McMahon and being like,
you would think,
boy, you're an asshole, but I love you.
At the end of the day, I hope that's what the goal is. I just kind of, you never know what the politics are behind the people sitting at the desk. Like, these guys have been UFC for the last 10 years and don't think that there's not a little bit of bad blood in there somewhere.
I'm sure down the list of functionaries, there's a lot of this isn't even a real sport.
Right.
We got a
$15 million loss we have to bank in the communications department.
Yeah.
Well, let's go put that in the WWE number.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going to start because TKO now, corporate numbers, they're all it's the same.
Right.
Well, they do seem to be doing a decent job of splitting them out. I think in future reports we are going to see the UFC arm and the WWE arm. Now that doesn't mean they don't make WWE buy a bunch of debt that's owned by UFC or something like that. They could play that game, but it does. I was afraid of exactly what you said, but this quarterly report it was mixed. It was separated out nice and neat.
Right.
You could see what.
I think you're going to see WWE's numbers very strong heading into 2024. I think it's really going to show.
They sold 90,000 WrestleMania tickets. 90,000 already
In Philly.
In Philly, in August on pre-sale. So
How many can they fill in there?
90 something.
So they're almost full.
They're almost full already. It's nosebleeds.
2 days, right?
High end. It was like in a week.
I mean, they're doing 2 days, right? So that's 90,000. That's 180,000. So potential between both shows, there's 180.
No. There's a lot of crossover, but I don't
Right.
think that they've sold 180,000 tickets. I think they've sold 90, the majority of which are probably for both nights.
Right.
There still is a plenty of ceiling to go to, but the fact that they sold, let's say, half
Yeah.
of the total in the first month, I mean, we still have 5-6 months till WrestleMania. So
I'd like to go to that myself. I mean,
it's gonna, not to mention the shows before it, the shows after it, all of the support, stand and deliver, like it's so like UFC doesn't do that. UFC doesn't even have the capability to do something like
Right.
that. Nobody in UFC even had, think of the biggest possible fight you could ever have, Conor McGregor versus insert name here. You would never get that kind of
but that company is $3 billion more.
So that's what I'm saying. You're like,
I just don't get
complement
it.
each other.
I've never get it. I've never understood
complement
it.
each other, right? That's the idea. The idea is we each, finish
And now,
each other's
so I don't
races.
know, but I guess UFC signed something with Saudi Arabia recently, and Dana White on a podcast. I think did I read it beginning of this week.
I think UFC crushes WWE on pay-per-view.
Maybe.
I think
but,
they make more
But
revenue.
again, that's the Peacock deal. So I mean, WWE may,
Well, that's the other
WWE
thing.
may have their hands tied
Right.
behind their back with the Peacock deal.
How do you do a clear comparison when Peacock's like, we'll take everything for this amount, and then
I'm telling you right now, when that Peacock deal is done, they're gonna go down the same route that UFC does. You gotta buy the pay-per-view again. I'm telling you, they're gonna follow the
How
UFC
long before
route.
NBC Universal buys Endeavor or some craziness like that? I mean, think about it. You've had this close relationship with WWE for how long? You want to get into combat sports. You're interested in live events. You're a gigantic
I don't think you
multinational
can.
corporation.
I mean, at this point, it's gotta be what, $24 billion company right now.
Between the Endeavor, I don't know what the
So between both evaluations, it's 21 million. Add on a little bit of a surplus, obviously. That company's not selling for anything less than 25 billion right now.
yeah.
No, nothing. So who's gonna pay 25 billion for it? Someone may. But that's a lot of debt.
Yeah.
A lot.
After I kind of got the impression that TKO was maybe a little bit concerned about people running from the stock too, because about a month after the acquisition was finalized, they paid out a pretty substantial dividend. They paid out like I think a $3.86 dividend,
And that's where people like the McMahons have to be nervous.
which doesn't
When it gets sold to people who aren't Ari
yeah.
and didn't promise them what, you know what I mean? Like
usually it's like 12 cents a share per quarter, 14, maybe 36, and all of a sudden $3.86 a share goes out a month after. It's like, what are you guys nervous about? Are you guys nervous people are might jump ship? So.
Well, you mentioned WrestleMania week in Philly. Anything else you want to touch on that?
No, I think we already did. I mean, it's going to be the biggest WrestleMania event ever. WrestleMania continues to grow. I remember when it initially went to 2 nights, I like rolled my eyes and was like, WTF.
Yeah, they've
It's
been
working.
doing like fan access and stuff like that for many years.
Content-wise,
But, yeah,
it does not help, but revenue-wise, very helpful.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason behind cities bidding on getting WrestleMania, and now they're trying to do that with other
Could you
big
imagine
shows too.
UFC gaining a bid? It's just,
Right.
it would never happen. Not in a million years.
All right, let's talk about a little AEW news. I know this is Dan's favorite subject.
I'm going to put my mic on mute.
Well, you might like this. There was an article in the Sportster or the Sportster.com that was talking about AEW no longer being all elite. It's true. The elite themselves, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, Adam Page, haven't really been on TV all that much lately. So, are they losing that all elite status?
Well, let me quote directly from it, and I think this goes to something you'll support, Dan. Quote, AEW has been recycling the same storylines with the elite, leading to a lack of audience investment and a sense of staleness. Tony Khan's focus on signing new stars like CM Punk may have contributed to this.
It's exactly what I said last week. Is that these signings are alienating the people that have been there. I don't care if it's Ric
Well,
Flair.
they're EVPs.
Okay,
Right.
whatever. Ric Flair, it's everyone that he signed. Every one person that he signs is alienating someone that's been there for a long time.
Or
it is what it
this
is.
could be their doing. Maybe they're stepping away so that these new guys could
Right.
get more TV time. We don't really know.
That's what I'm saying.
This is
That's
all,
why they've got
this
two
is all
contracts.
speculation. But they've just been re-signed to long-term contracts earlier this year or last year, whatever it was. So they're still going to be there for quite some time to come.
I mean, I
don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. You need to go away, make the crowd miss you a little bit, and then come back even bigger.
Or it just lets them do what they want to do. They've already made the money.
Actually, it was just announced this week that Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho are facing the Bucks at Full Gear. So that's something new they haven't done in a while, at least not in AEW. So.
Yeah, it's like you do what you want. It gives them the freedom to do what they want to do.
Right.
Maybe it's disappear to Japan for 6 months and work over there, or maybe it's finally go against the Bucks or whatever. Like, you can do what you want to do. It's a certain level of freedom that comes with being able to push guys like MJF, Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin, Freshly Squeezed. Like, you can do what you want with with these other guys. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
I mean, I wonder what the reasonings for it. I mean, are they doing anything? Just they just been completely in the dark?
No, I think. I think they're just mostly doing backstage stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything.
I mean, I wonder if they're actually at the shows though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are.
I haven't heard any rumors of any kind of animosity, any kind of
Yeah.
heat coming from the Elite as far as how they're being treated or the storylines. I think they're literally doing exactly what they want to do. The only guy who I think maybe shouldn't feel that way is Adam Page, and he still has a little ways to go
Yeah.
to get to the
And
level of
Page
rest
and the
of them.
Bucks were just the Ring of Honor 6-man
Yeah.
champs. They just lost the belts a week or two ago, so.
There's just no heat on it. That's really what it comes down to.
Maybe they're building up a new stable to be the new Elite.
Ugh.
See what you think about this. Jake the Snake Roberts made a return this week with Lance Archer and
Great.
debuted a new stable with Archer and the Righteous from Ring of Honor, who had a little run with MJF a few weeks ago, and really, I don't know. They were still not really very well known unless you're a Ring of Honor fan, but I don't know. What do you think of this new stable?
I couldn't
You don't
help.
even know who we're talking about.
I know something. My simple. Go ahead.
I couldn't help but notice that the Righteous kind of moving up to, we'll call it main brand status, coincides with another successful tag team moving from NXT onto the Raw brand. They just beat the Alpha Academy this
Creed
past weekend.
Brothers?
Yes, the Creed Brothers. I couldn't help but wonder if there wasn't it's just odd timing that at the same time the Creed Brothers would move up at the same time. It just seemed interesting to me, and I'm just wondering, like, what is going on? Like, this doesn't
It may
make
be
any
something
sense to me.
like we've been saying. It may just be something as simple as trying to get those newer guys that don't get much TV time just cycled in.
And that's awesome, but the way they presented it, I
Yeah,
guess,
it was
created a
kind
lot
of
of
weird.
confusion. Roberts comes out after Archer loses to expand. Like, I just don't understand. Why wouldn't you have Archer go over? Why wouldn't you give your people a push? Why would you
or have them come out and help him win or something.
Exactly.
Everything's in chaos right now.
That's a great way
why.
to kind of establish, oh, is this a face faction or is this a heel faction? Like, what are we looking at here? Because obviously Jake, the perennial bad guy, but is that the role he's going to be playing here? Like, none of that was clear at all. I don't know if chaos is the right word, but it's like,
It might be a little too much freedom.
it does look like
Do they need another
disorganization.
stable? Do they need another one?
Everybody's in a stable.
I don't think it'll hurt because some of the other stables are falling apart. The Elite really aren't around. The JAS really
Yeah,
hasn't.
they're apart.
They're basically dead. I mean, so yeah, I mean, we're kind of in
Do
a
you
transition.
think that this could be part of the problem?
No, transitionary
People can't
periods
keep
happen.
track of what stable's going and which one's not. I mean, it's just
It's
too
not hard
much.
to keep track of it. At least I'm
Well, I
not
mean,
struggling with that.
Again, if it's trying something new and trying to get new people
Yeah.
in there, then it's a transition period. People are going to take time to learn who these people are, regardless.
But it's just weird that you would lose and then expand.
Right.
Is his name the
Your-
Snake in AEW?
Jake the Snake. Yeah.
Call him Jake the Snake.
They do.
He's an old school guy. I think he owns all of his stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like Sergeant Slaughter.
We were talking all about the money earlier, but a reliable source, Brandon Thurston, he's known for
WrestleNomics. He's a WrestleNomics guy.
He put out an article on Cage Side Seats that said he's pretty confident AEW is not profitable.
Which I think we kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago. I mean, yeah, they're kind of on the edge. At best, they're on the edge of profitability, especially after the TV deal with TNT.
Yeah.
But he said that they need to make $200 million in television rights alone to achieve profitability.
A year?
A year.
Yeah, I believe that.
$200 million a year.
And
that just seems like a lot to me.
I'm not sure where I read it. I'm pretty sure, though, when they were talking about the new TV deals, it was speculated that it was going to be the new deal was going to be around.
They were asking for $1 billion.
Oh, is that what it was?
For 5 years.
AEW wanted $1 billion.
Okay.
For 5 years.
Based off of, I think, I forget something.
So then that would make sense, to $200 million a year.
They were, because nothing got signed. I remember something came out and AEW was, I think we should be at that. Because of that, we should be at $1 billion as well. I think Tony Khan, I think, made a statement like we should be at $1 billion.
Well, they
were looking for $1 billion.
Universal gave about, was it 1.1 or 1.2 billion for 5 years on SmackDown?
Mm-hmm. 1.4, I thought.
1.4, something like that. So, I mean, when you consider the level of content, when you consider that it's not network television, I mean, I'll be surprised if SmackDown continues to haul in 2.3, 2.5. I mean, I don't think SmackDown's gonna, without some kind of special or something, I'll be surprised if SmackDown breaks.
No, you gotta pay in the basic cable. Fox and basic cable. You're gonna get more viewership on Fox no matter what.
Well, hang on though. Because
it's a prime station.
Let me clarify, because I am giving overall numbers, but I'm really talking about the key demographic.
Right.
And that 0.3 rating. Sort of ceiling that we've seen AEW deal with, that we've seen NXT deal with, that we've seen Raw deal with, hasn't really been an issue for Fox. They've been 0.6, 0.55, like they've been really solid in the key demographic. But that key demographic, 18 to 49, not a lot of basic cable watchers in there, I wouldn't think. I would think basic cable watchers would be at the back end and above of that range.
They're the 49 and up.
I would think 40 and up at least. So I don't know. I don't see where the value add comes from.
Right.
But again, $200 million, that just seems like a lot to me. And the fact that he would ask for what he needs to become to basically break even as his, that just doesn't seem, just seems weird to me. So
I think it's a realistic number. I think they need to be at $2 billion or $2 million.
But I guess what I'm asking is, right now, do you think they're worth $200 million a year?
If you're figuring in merch and everything else.
No. What would you guess they're worth for TV rights, for the whole kit and caboodle?
Save it for later.
All right, perfect. This must be part of your special announcement. Teaser. Get ready.
All right, last AEW headline we got here. We talked about her a few weeks ago. There was speculation, but now it's official. Mariah May has signed to AEW. She was on Dynamite this week, cut a promo or interview in the backstage.
Not a great way to introduce her.
Not great, no. But I think most people don't really know who she is, even the diehard fans.
I was going to say, he has no idea who Mariah May is.
Mm-hmm. Why are you pointing to me?
Okay, who's Mariah May?
I have no idea.
There we go. Okay.
But I'm writing something down, and I hear you. Yeah, he has no idea.
Now you know why I'm pointing at you, because she's an indie star that just signed to AEW, which means she may as well speak Greek and be from the moon. Why don't you explain to him why she's a good signing?
Well, honestly, I'm not all that familiar with her either.
I mean, I've read the stuff on it.
Oh my God!
I've read rumors on it, but I don't know who she is.
Yeah,
I don't know her history.
When we talked about her before, I looked into her a bit, but I haven't actually watched any of her.
She's like the hottest, next to Will Ospreay. She's like the hottest free agent that's out there right now.
Wow, yeah, I didn't think she was that hot.
I mean, she's definitely the hottest female signing since Jade Cargill went to WWE.
I hear about a lot more Japanese female wrestlers than her.
She's young. She's solid. She was good on the mic. She's got great in-ring presence. They have a glamour gimmick that they're going with for her. It's glamour, polish is what all elite wrestling needs, I think, right now. I think it's a missing piece.
So how do you think she's going to fit in then? Is she going to fill the Jade Cargill hole, or is she going to make her own path?
I mean, the intention
Don't
is
take
clearly,
that literally.
The intention is definitely, I mean, it's clear. Like, you're losing a huge superstar and you're trying to make a home. By the way, I mean, you must love this. they're trying to make a new superstar. They're not trying to buy an old one, an old recycled, tired old Saw. They're not going out and trying to sign Sable or Tori, you know.
There's no one available.
Or Trish Stratus.
They had to make their stars, and there's no one available.
You know, they're not trying to sign somebody old. They're trying to create somebody new, which kind of talks about a vision, because you can't do that overnight, right? It takes years to do that.
Yep.
But I mean, I think she'll come in and she'll take over. I mean, if she does what she did in Japan, she'll come in and she'll take over. Yeah, she's a very hot signing.
All right. So she go right for the world title, or she start with the TBS?
I have no idea what they're going to do. Like, because the women's division has been so, like, not great lately. Mm-hmm. I think
Julia Hart is definitely the top right now.
Yeah.
She was off for a few weeks, and then she came back this past week.
Well, they are teasing a gimmick with Brian May.
Yep.
Already, around like the super fan, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. That's kind of what they did with. It's kind of what WWE did with Mickie James
in the beginning. Well, she was much more stalkerish, but yeah, super fan.
Well, I don't know. Like you could
easily transition.
Could easily see it go that way. Fatal Attraction and whatever. So. Mm-hmm. I hope they don't do something like that, because I think that did some damage to Mickie at the beginning. But definitely got her noticed.
Yeah,
so
for sure. All right, let's go over quick. Crown Jewel was last week. We'll go over the results of that real quick. We didn't make any official predictions. We ran out of time last week, but honestly, I didn't watch the show. I've just seen highlights.
I just want to talk in generalities here, instead of going match by match, and there's really only 2 points I want to make. One, I was right about saying Rey Mysterio would drop the title to Logan Paul, which was really the only interesting thing that happened the entire night. Two, what the F is going on? Crown Jewel, when it was originally pitched years ago, was supposed to be star-studded, roll out the red carpet.
Because that's what the Prince wanted.
Make Saudi Arabia feel like our special friend.
And at first they did. They had
and it
Undertaker,
was huge, right?
Yep.
Yes, they rolled out the red carpet.
Hell, the one time Shawn Michaels comes out of retirement was in Saudi Arabia.
Now, 8 lackluster matches, any one of which could have occurred on a Monday or a Friday night.
That's
no star power.
That's like everything WWE does. It starts out hot, and eventually it just turns into another show.
I mean, if I'm the Crown Prince, I'm pissed.
I don't think he's even paying attention anymore, honestly.
They're selling. They're making money.
He must not be. They must because literally the biggest thing that was pitched on the show was like, look at this brand new stadium we're in.
Right.
Look at how beautiful it is now.
The reality is, Jeremy, here's the problem. If they're selling out the arena, it doesn't matter. They're making the same amount of money they're making 5 years ago when it sold out. Do they
actually sell tickets to these shows, though?
Well, it used to be held at a much larger arena. So there's a lot less money that's getting made.
I guess.
And on the first few shows, like the first several rows, were all reserved for the higher
the
muckety
Royal,
mucks. Yeah.
The Royal.
I think they just have lost interest. I think from both, I'm sure the Saudi Arabia, they're not showing up either. They go, well, we've been to the first 5. I don't need to go see another one. Again, they do 2 a year, don't they?
Well,
more.
It's 2 now, right? Didn't they do 2 this year? They do some dark stuff, I think.
Because they didn't do any during the pandemic. If
you're going to pull out the red carpet and do all this, do 1 a year.
Well, the only live show they did during the pandemic was in Saudi Arabia, wasn't it?
Well,
didn't they go to Saudi Arabia to do like an actual live event during the pandemic?
I don't think so. I think it was after, once things started opening
up. And let's remember, guys, there have been some backstories about this whole relationship in the past, about how the jet got frozen on the tarmac and a payment had to be made. So you don't know, these guys may not be on talking terms, or you don't know what the backstory. Hence why maybe the arenas are a little bit smaller now. And Vince ain't flying out there for it anymore. He went out to the boxing match, but he didn't go out for any of these. So I mean.
And again, reportedly for the very first show,
Vince and Ari were there.
Not for
Vince didn't stay for Crown Jewel.
Oh, he was just there for the pre-stuff.
Did Ari go out for Crown Jewel?
Ari was out there for the pre-stuff. I saw pictures of them next to each other.
He was there for the UFC show.
Oh, he was already in town?
They left after the UFC show. So they didn't stay. Well, I don't know about Ari, but Vince and Undertaker, they went to the UFC and then they left after that.
Very interesting.
But, I mean, reportedly for the first show, the Prince wanted Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior, and Yokozuna.
Yeah.
And when he only got one of the 3, he probably lost interest right after that.
Right.
Well,
so, I mean, yeah.
So the other prediction you guys did make was that Seth Rollins was going to lose the belt.
Yeah,
and he did not.
yeah.
So
I kind of thought they could be playing a little bit of a Drew
That's true, I
McIntyre
did
game.
say that.
That world heavyweight belt is always gonna be a belt, in my opinion. I can switch at any moment.
I need to get better with my will and should. I need to get better differentiating those two things. He should have dropped the belt to Drew McIntyre.
he should have dropped the belt a while ago.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the big topic here. We've mentioned it a few times. NXT has found a new home. It's going to be moving from USA to the CW.
Not where I expected.
No.
I don't think that was on anybody's flipping radar. And from what I heard, they didn't start talking about it until like 4 weeks before the ink was dry. Very
They
recent.
screwed out. Who was it? UWA.
Yeah, they screwed up. They screwed Billy Corgan out of
NWA, yeah.
what would have been the greatest deal since the regional age for
Yeah,
NWA.
so-
I mean,
NWA, they just had a show, and one of the segments on it was like involved like a cocaine party, and CW reportedly wasn't happy about that, so like all talks ended with NWA.
which I believe, if I remember right, Billy was told like they wouldn't be watching or something, which is why I think he let them get away with that. No way he would. That sounds like a BS excuse.
Yeah.
You can easily mop up any messes that could come.
Right.
Listen, if WWE can clean up ECW, then CW can clean up NWA, especially with the amount of money that they were apparently willing to throw at it. Oh my God. I mean, even if it was only half or a quarter of what they gave for NXT.
Yeah.
It's just utter madness. I mean,
And I would have liked to see NWA on there much more than NXT.
yeah, me too, exactly.
But
That's a good place for them to get a foothold
right.
in the market.
I think they had to go there. I think they had to go to a different channel. I mean, look, I'm not gonna. I'll talk a little bit more in a bit about it, but I think Universal is still completely in play for Raw, and I think there's if NBC or Universal USA Network goes for both SmackDown and Raw, they can't afford NXT, right? NXT I think is at the point now where they deserve an amount. You know, it's not like, hey, we're gonna sign Raw and SmackDown. You throw in NXT for us. Yeah. I think that's what it was a couple years ago when the USA Network,
Before the NXT value really
when
had
USC,
value.
when USA Network took all of WWE.
It like went to Peacock, didn't it?
No. They had them. It was
NXT?
no.
NXT was on the network.
The network,
Yeah.
which went to
Exclusively.
Peacock.
Right.
Yeah.
But they had all three going on, and it was. I thought that worked out well. Like for USA Network, it was the home of WWE. I
Right.
thought it was a great thing, and I was actually calling for it before they did it. And I think now NXT's earned the right to have its own value, and it's earned the right to have its own. It can't be mixed in a deal anymore. Like it has an added value. So I think there was no keeping it at USA Network. So I think it had to go, and you had to look at it's not big enough to go to FX.
Does this lead to a situation, though, and this is maybe the downside of that, does this lead to a situation where you have networks fighting over who's appearing on whose show?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah,
but that's
that-
been going on already.
That was the problem with
Yeah.
USA and Fox.
Exactly, yeah. There was a lot
That's
of...
why the Fox deal. That's reportedly why Fox didn't want SmackDown anymore, because they just felt like they were getting screwed over the last 5
And I don't know
years.
what kind of problem. I mean, the CW is in such. Again, I don't even know where they got the money for this because.
Well, Nextstar owned, and the guy is loaded.
Still, who the hell
yeah,
is going to
but-
dump money into CW?
This guy-
CW's been dying for a while.
Well, I get that, but Nextstar, just to kind of give you an idea where money comes from over there, Nextstar owns majority of the company.
Tribune.
Nextstar is in position to buy ABC from Disney. Like that's how much money they have. Like they are reportedly the
Yeah, it's
one.
like Tribune Media, I think.
Yeah, they're the ones that are reportedly the front runner to buy the linear cable provider of.
What a bad idea. Disney's getting desperate if they're selling ABC. Holy
Well,
shit.
they Disney. Nope. Disney's getting rid of some of their stuff. Like that's and they got to unload it. And selling ABC is one of them, and Nextstar is one of the major leaders. So they have money. They have some, And again, you look at small talking before about what show got canceled, or you think got canceled on CW.
Superman
and Lois is going
Well,
to
why
be
do you
ending.
think they're getting rid of shows? So if they're getting rid of shows, what's the alternative? Live events.
They got to deal with Live Golf, right?
They have Live Golf.
And you said a
They
NASCAR
have
deal.
Yep, they just signed Xfinity NASCAR series in 2025. The whole series. So that's a big deal. Like normally it's split up. Like NBC, Fox, they got the whole rights to it. So they're dropping some money.
Is that the, what do they call it? The
Xfinity series.
Is it called the Xfinity series
Yeah.
now?
So I mean, if I had to guess, the CW Network said we are going to make a change into dropping money into live events. That's going to fill up our broadcast schedule, and we're going to start getting some views.
And I was looking, and if they can get, I mean, they are so desperate. They target the young audience. I don't think anything rates above like a .10.
But they've never done that. That's always been their thing. Like they do these cheesy shows. Gossip Girl and my sister watches all of them.
Yeah, what's
One
the
Tree
one?
Hill,
One Tree
and all
Hill,
they
yeah,
do
yeah,
all
yeah.
the kids shows, and then they do all the drama, gossip, young
Riverdale.
soap opera type shows, and that's been their thing for years. Yeah. And maybe they're getting away from that and now going into live. So I think they have a history. I think their demographics could meet up with NXT. The demos could be there for that.
Oh, it could. I mean, this is going to be, like I said, if they take half. If NXT loses half their audience, which I don't think they will, but if they lose half their audience, they will still be head and shoulders above every other show that's currently on the network. Yeah. So it's to me, it seems like a way bigger win for CW. It seems like CW is going to be clinging to the WWE for ratings, especially inside the key demographic, because right now, like you said, nobody over the age of 30 wants to watch CW. Nothing appeals to them at all. Mm-hmm. So that's what they've got to do.
Yeah.
Very surprising.
All
and
right.
when does that deal?
October.
Not until next October. So we still have a long time.
So you still have basically have a year.
Yeah.
But you'll start to see less and less. Well, no, I think NXT they're going to keep that going. You're not going to see less and less of not showing.
Well, so here's a question. What happens to the NXT library? Because now you just go on Peacock and you can watch all the NXT stuff.
Well, I bet you that's...
Yeah, I mean, everything I think is still going to stay on.
They own the library.
That's just a network broadcasting deal, and
right.
And whoever gets the library gets all
It's
of
like
that.
Raw and SmackDown. They don't show up on the network until a month later.
Right.
But it'll be the same kind of idea with NXT.
I mean, Peacock has the rights to all the entire library.
Right.
Across the board. Doesn't matter what show it is.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if library rights for NXT would be included with CW.
Up until recently, Raw and SmackDown were available on Hulu the day after they aired, but they still didn't go on to Peacock until a month later.
Right, yeah. With the Universal, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why not just let Raw go on immediately, or even air on Peacock at the same time?
Right.
It's a viewer's a viewer. Like, anyways.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers everything we got here. So before we sign off, what's
ladies and gentlemen, a special annount from our GM, Dan Shevlin.
Do we want to call him Tony Khan for this second?
Tony Khan. I mean Dan Shevlin.
So that reminds me. So no, we were talking. I like to start doing these bold segments, and something we hope to introduce here on the show a little bit more. But I do have one that it's kind of been. It's taken. Like I think everything's kind of aligned this week, where I've been kind of talking about it. I've been confused about how I wanted to say it. I've been confused about but I think everything kind of came together for me this week, and I'm like, you know what? I really think that's what the case is. So. Right now, I was saying to Jeremy before we went live. Right now, it's a great time. I love the business side of wrestling. Mm-hmm. Okay, so right now, like I haven't been this excited in like a year. Okay, because I think there's a lot of things happening right now behind the scenes. The clouds are forming. Everything's starting to get moving. There's a lot of action and a lot of things that it's you guys watch Seinfeld?
Sure. Yeah.
You know how like Kramer has a storyline, and Jerry has a storyline, and George has a storyline at the beginning of the episode, and then at the end of the episode, they all come together.
I thought that show was about nothing.
Well, yeah. But I think what's happening now is we've had a lot of storylines that we've been discussing, and they're all starting to kind of, in a way, start to merge together. And it's like, you know what, now that makes sense why maybe that's connected to that, and that's connected to this. And my bold statement, just to throw it out there right from the beginning, that I think in the next year and a half to 2 years, AEW will be out of business.
Whoa! Very bold.
Wow. Very. I said it to be bold. I mean,
what does that mean, though? Get more details.
Done.
Out of business.
Done.
No longer airing shows.
Done. Nope.
No longer traveling and doing live events.
Done.
belly up.
Are they going to be
dead.
bought out or just
That
close the doors?
One way or another, either bought out,
Either
they
bought
will,
out
they
or
will
belly
be,
up.
they will be done. Tony Khan will not own it.
That's what you're saying. Tony
Oh no,
Khan
no, I
won't
think
own
I think they're gonna be done, but I think let's say WWE buys it and they just keep
Well,
it
yeah,
as a
they kill it.
brand.
Yeah, they kill
and,
it.
But Tony Khan, to me, that's dead. They're done. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, if WWE were to buy it, they're done. I mean, the classic AEW is done.
So what makes you say that?
So I mean, I think it started with, and I'm gonna kind of go through all my reasonings here, right? So I think the first one starts with CM Punk. I think CM Punk, and I've kind of thrown this out, another bold statement before. I think CM Punk saw the writing on the wall and wanted out. Okay, I think he wanted out. The erratic behavior, the craziness. No one has any solutions to it.
You think he was sabotaging
Yeah,
himself?
no one has anything. I can't believe. I really think a man that crazy, doing that much stuff, can only really be doing it if he's doing it on purpose to get out of his deal. He did not want to be there, and I don't know if he saw stuff behind the scenes, didn't. I don't know. And a side bold statement, I think he's at Survivor Series. I think he signs, and he's there at Chicago. And I think that's just going to show you.
that would be bigger than AEW going out of business.
I
for
think
me.
that just shows you what I really think that was the first step. And that was the first of this train that we're going down of negativity and declines, right? I think the second one is NXT versus AEW. I think WWE saw this. They saw, hey, this is an opportunity. AEW's kind of in a little bit of a tailwind right now, tailspin down. Let's shove it up their ass by destroying them in the ratings. I know there's a lot of other reasons, different night, everything. Nonetheless, NXT stacked the show and absolutely crushed AEW. And again, I still think because it was another night that really led to a lot of it, but still, it doesn't help, right? It was a big, 300,000 difference in viewers? Big
3 or
difference.
4, yeah.
And I think that really kind of kept the ball rolling, right? You're seeing a slump in morale. You're seeing decline in ratings. You're seeing maybe some ticket issues. Overall, we're seeing it unravel a little bit, right? You're seeing multiple signings. To me, multiple signings is, desperation. You're trying to stop this negativity. We got to sign who we can sign to help get this turned back around and going the other way. And you're alienating, we already talked about this, people on the show that have been there for years. You're alienating them a little bit. The Ric Flair, no need to sign Ric Flair. You're signing it, in my opinion. You're desperate. You need to get a bump. You need to get this going upward. Sign Ric Flair, whatever. I don't think that's going to help. I think it just shows a little bit of the desperation. And we talked about it. A lot of things we talked about are on my sheet, the no elites. That's not helping. I mean, are you telling me that's not a little bit of a storyline behind the scenes that no elites are showing up on the show lately? That could be a little bit of even though they signed extensions, doesn't mean you can't get out of them.
What do you think? Do you think that the Elite not being on is hurting the viewership or the ticket sales?
I don't think it's making that much of a difference. Again, I think it's more of a go away for a little while, let some other guys get built up, and then
I think them being there for the big shows
distance
is
draws.
important.
Distance causes the heart to grow fonder. Is that the saying? Anyways.
Absence makes the heart
Absence.
grow
Thank you.
All elite wrestling. They're literally in the name, elite. I just don't. I'm not saying them not being. It's certainly not helping them not being there. But I'm trying to say I think there's more going on behind the scenes. Look, Cody Rhodes. He really should be my number one. He really should be way up here before CM Punk. Cody Rhodes.
He walked away on his own.
But still,
he
what?
sold his stock,
Jeremy,
as it were. And
you don't walk away if everything's great. You walk away when you know something's not working. And Cody Rhodes, one way, however you can say, this was Cody Rhodes' baby. He put this together and got Tony Khan on board, right? He put this. Cody Rhodes was the guy going, I'm going to go out and create a wrestling promotion for wrestlers, make it better. He went out and did it. He's the one. Brock Lesnar even said it in a segment on Raw. And I forget the exact wording. Like, you made it where wrestlers get paid more now. Cody Rhodes did that. He got Tony Khan and they got together and they made this thing. Tony Khan had the money. It's why Cody Rhodes was an executive vice president. He left. That's not good. That's not good. Cody Rhodes leaving is not good. I forgot about that. But nonetheless, I don't think the elite guys being around is a good thing. And I think it's more backstage and on camera. I think there's probably some stuff going on maybe. The CM Punk situation probably didn't help. Okay, and maybe Tony Khan's alienating them now. We all know Tony Khan's a loose cannon at the moment. We don't know what he's doing, right? Who knows? And I think when it comes to Tony Khan, I think he's lost. This is where I think I finally found an answer to why AEW is not doing well. They've lost the goodwill of the fans. How many, in a percentage, how many people do you think are organic AEW fans? And you know what organic means? That means
No pesticides, no herbicides.
that means they started watching wrestling from and by AEW.
As a percentage,
Yeah, percentage.
it's low, 10,
Yeah.
maybe 20.
So when Tony Khan goes out there and insults Vince and insults that, do you think that's helping him? Don't get me wrong. There's a percentage of AEW fans that don't like WWE, but most I put 30%. I went high. I want 30% are organic. That means 70% of the fans that watch AEW, off of my projections, are people who, one way or another, know what WWE, like WWE, or watch WWE. And Tony Khan going out there and alienating it by insulting Vince and making the people don't like it. They don't. And I think he's lost the goodwill of the fans by not only that, but going out with special announcements. We did a huge announcement on a special announcement to announce that we're launching the pre-ticket sales to London 8 months before. Seriously, that's what I got. That's what I tuned in to watch Dynamite for off of that special announcement. That's losing my goodwill. It's losing the goodwill. I just tuned into your show because you tweeted all over the place that you're making a special announcement, and that special announcement is tickets to London are coming out 8 months. Pre-tickets? Really? See you later. Going to the backstage. I'm saying see you later, switching to another channel. Why am I doing that? Like, that's the goodwill that's being lost. I think that's the issue why you're seeing a lot of declining ratings, is that the goodwill is lost. So here's where nothing's happened yet, where I think it's going to lead to the end of AEW. MJF. Right now.
He's going to leave. You're saying he's going to
Right now is what I love about the business of wrestling. The cable deals are all over the place. Everyone's all over the place. If I'm Vince or I'm Triple H or Ari, I'm saying I can really stick it to AEW by two things. I sign MJF. Okay, I don't know the numbers. I'm way off. Let's say AEW offers $2 million to MJF. Why wouldn't WWE say $3 million? I'll give you 3. Hell, I'll give you 4. What do you think MJF is going to do? Ari ain't going to say, spend the 2X for $2 million. Fuck over AEW. It's worth it. The extra $2 million's worth it. Pay the $2 million. Double the offer. Where do you think MJF is going to go? I see a company that's declining. The ratings aren't going up. This company's been around for a long time. It's now part of TKO with UFC. They're offering me double the contract. Where do you think MJF's going to go? Over here. That's a huge blow for AEW. Now slap in the whole Warner Brothers deal, and this just came out. This just came out last week. I think I sent it to you guys that the leading cable networks that are looking at Raw are Universal, FX, which is Disney, and WB, Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers just announced their quarterly results. They lost $417 million this quarter. They're not spending a ton of money on AEW. They're not going to. They're going to say, Tony Khan, we can't give you $1 billion deal. We're trying to keep the NBA rights. Okay, we can't give you $1 billion to keep your company making money at $2 million or $200 million that we just discussed. They can't do it. They can't do it. We're going to spend $1 billion on Monday Night Raw. That's going to bring us the results. It's going to bring us the 1.8 million, the 1.3 million. And WWE, I think WWE will take a hit just to stick it to AEW. Because if AEW is not on Warner Brothers, where do they go? They're not signing with FX, which is Disney. Disney doesn't want that. So where do they go? Then the CW just took NXT, so they're not going to that channel. They're literally fucked. Excuse my language. They are done. There are 2 moves right now that if WWE is smart, which I think they're smart enough to know, that can really stick it to AEW. Signing MJF and taking Warner Brothers. And I'm telling you right now, that's the reason why Warner Brothers and AEW didn't sign a deal. Because that's all at play. And there's a lot of other things at stake right now. You have the NBA. Let me tell you why Fox couldn't afford WWE. They had the MLB rights up. They have the NFL rights up. They're trying to keep those. They're trying to keep all those. They can't afford WWE right now. That's why WWE is not with Fox.
I don't think they
cannot
want it.
afford it.
I don't
and
think
I
they
think it
want
doesn't work
WWE
out.
anymore.
It didn't work out either way. They saw. I mean, it wasn't. But nonetheless, they can't afford to pay for something that they're not getting.
Do you?
You're dying to say something.
No, I have a question.
Right.
Do you think that, because the implication of what you're saying here is that WWE will intentionally take a less lucrative deal from Warner Brothers in order to...
Not a crazy, but a little bit. Why not?
What's a little bit?
Let's say SmackDown went to 1 point. What was SmackDown? 1.4 million.
Billion.
For 5
Billion.
years.
I'm sorry, billion.
Yeah, for 5
Well,
years.
now, what would you say Raw is worth? The same?
A lot less than that. A lot less. I mean, their ratings are basically half where they currently are. I don't know what the last Raw deal was with Universal.
Let's say 1.1 billion.
I would think it's worth less than that.
Okay, let's say 1 billion. Okay, what's the number? I'm saying, let's just talk discount. Let's say it's worth 1 billion.
I think it's worth half of SmackDown, but that's just
If
my opinion.
Warner Brothers came to them and said, "We'll offer you 875 million," WWE would take it.
They're going to take a. You think TKO?
Yes,
is
I think
gonna
they'll
take
take $125 million slash to stick it to AEW, and that puts them out. It does. If AEW loses Warner Brothers, they are done. Like, Warner Brothers is huge, and now WWE has the CW, which is Nexstar as well. They have NBC Universal, and they have Warner Brothers. There's nowhere for anyone to go. And let's be honest, Vince McMahon is smart. We've already heard from Dana White last week that says that he had to go meet with Vince to get permission for the UFC to be on NBC Universal. And Vince said, "I'm not doing that. See you later. Not doing it." He had to sign. You don't think that's worked into deals? TKO is going to have the right.
You're talking about exclusivity?
Yes,
Yeah, of
TKO is
course.
going to have the right to say.
Of course, exclusivity.
So if you have all three major cable brands locked up, where does AW go? No deal was signed. Look what you got to look at what's on the writing. No deal was signed. NXT just signed for, let's say, 35 to 37 million, and they're generating views higher than Dynamite right now. So why would Dynamite be worth anything more than that? 35 million. How can you argue they're worth more? If NXT's ratings are higher, how can Dynamite be worth more?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So Tony Khan was in there going,
Well, you're paying for the future.
I
too.
need,
You're
well,
not
yeah, but
paying
I
for
need
the
200
past.
million to be profitable. Okay, throw in Collision, throw in Rampage. It's still not getting to 200 million. So Tony Khan at some point is going to have to sit and go, we can't make any money. And now if Warner Brothers signs with WWE, no one's giving him 200 million. Nobody. All the three, maybe some kind of deal with Disney, with FX, but I don't even think Disney's is trying to survive on themselves right now. They're not giving out 200 million. So AEW's really put themselves in a spot.
So AEW goes to Disney?
No, I don't think they can. I don't think they're going to give the money that AEW needs. So now I want to leave it
No,
to
but enough to get by.
So I'm throwing out a lot at the table here, right? I want to let you guys. But if AEW fails, it's the end of everything. There's no new wrestling promotion coming for another 10 years. Nobody. Who's going to step up? Who can step up and not have what Tony Khan has? Tony Khan has billions and billions of dollars, and he can't stick it to them? I'm telling you now, there's a lot at stake here if AEW cannot find a way or surviving. 2024, I'm telling you right now, is going to be the most important year ever. I'm talking ever in wrestling business right now. I'm talking going back to WCW days. This year right here, if AEW cannot find a way of surviving, and they have a lot of exposure right now, a ton. Their number one world champion is on free agency. TV deals are up. Everyone's dropped. I mean, it's a big year for AEW, and WWE finally has that opportunity to really squeeze it tight and really squeeze Tony Khan, because Tony Khan, the honeymoon's over. Tony Khan's had the last 3-5 years of nothing's been up, no deals have been up. Now they're up, and can he deliver on that? And if he doesn't deliver, you better get used to WWE, because nobody is gonna be able to step up with the money Tony Khan has had. No one can step up and stick it to TKO. Nobody.
All right, so
Now you go.
Because I want to get your thoughts on it before I talk. I just want to make sure I sum this up properly. So your one bold prediction is that in 18 to 24 months, AEW is out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And to support that, you made 4 other smaller predictions. One, CM Punk is going to be at Survivor Series.
That's irrelevant. That's just a side bold statement.
MJF signs with WWE. AEW loses the Warner Brothers deal because WWE signs a deal with Warner Brothers.
Yes.
For Raw.
For Raw.
Okay.
And I think Warner Brothers losing $417 million, they need something that's going to deliver. And I think, in their opinion, signing with TKO. By the way, signing with TKO also means UFC. So Warner Brothers now has access to potentially doing more content because they're looking for more content through UFC.
Matt?
You got a good argument there. I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong too. I really do. But I think it's there.
You hope that the promotion that you don't like, that you never watched, continues to exist?
Wrestling content's the best it's ever been right now because WWE had to change. Go look at what WWE content was before. It was boring.
Oh,
They
we
didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, I don't
There's
remember.
More two companies, it makes for better business.
No,
but
yeah, all ships rise with the
don't
tide.
think that WWE's not going to take every attempt to put them out of business. Save them a lot of money.
The one thing I can't remember all your arguments now. You threw a lot of info on there. There was one thing I was thinking that I definitely agreed with you on, but now I can't remember what it was.
Well, let's talk about what I disagree on. I think that I think your argument is logically sound, and I think that the fact when I saw that Warner Brothers Discovery was still supposedly in the hunt for Raw, that scared me a little bit.
That clicked it off for me.
And if
Yeah.
I was Tony Khan, I'd be very scared. I think that MJF is already locked down.
That's what I was thinking too.
I think he was, honestly, I think that they haven't announced it, but I think he's been locked down for a while.
Because it's part of his gimmick.
It's his gimmick, yeah. Now, we'll know for sure if he drops the title at Full Gear. Now I'm really shaking in my boots.
When's Full Gear again?
Next week.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
But his contract is up at the end of the year. So
Is it end of the year that it's up, or is it into 2024?
Maybe a week or two, but it's very January.
Don't they have the end of the year pay-per-view?
World's End.
They do, yeah. It's
I think
World's
that's where
End.
he would. That's where he would drop it.
A new pay-per-view, something big like that. It's possible.
End of the year, him losing the belt, he moves on.
I'll feel a lot better if he can get through Full Gear, because Full Gear is one of their big shows, not this new show that kind of popped up out of nowhere to make other people happy and probably raise a little bit of revenue that they needed. I don't know. I think they've got MJF locked down. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that they can't go out of business. Maybe they bankrupt themselves signing MJF.
I think the number one is Warner Brothers. That's number one. You lose that, you're screwed.
The other argument against what you're saying, you kind of like argued against yourself a little bit at the end when you went, well, Tony Khan's a billionaire. It's like, well, yeah, then that means that he can continue to finance a failure. Well, I don't know. The Jaguars seem to be doing pretty okay, and the soccer team seem to be doing all right.
There comes a point where if he really needs $200 million, there comes a point where it doesn't matter. You can't keep 50. Let's say he loses $50 million a year. That's still $50 million. Like he's not going to keep taking hits like that.
It comes down to the TV, though. A wrestling company is only viable if they have good TV.
Exactly. If he loses Warner Brothers,
that will be.
That's like, what are you going to do, man?
They can always go to a streaming service. They can go to a minor station if there's another. Access or Vice or something like that, but
there's
it's not,
a lot
it won't
of
be as
things.
big.
I mean, the other thing that kind of bothered me about what you said is the 1824 time frame. There are a lot of things that they can do to cut back, lean out their product.
I mean, we never would have thought TNA would have
never went belly up.
Right. We never would have thought they would have lasted this long.
As bad as it got, they never went belly up. I mean, going belly up is a really hard thing to do. You have to implode like a star, like WCW did.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Tony Khan can deliver or manage an AEW at the level TNA was the last couple of years? Or do you think he would just quit? Look how small TNA got.
Yeah, they got really small.
You think Tony Khan can do that with his ego and his money?
I don't think it'll get that small. I mean, it was.
They can go to smaller
It was
arenas.
right out of a closet for a minute there.
Look, I still stick to my 24, but I think we all know even though they still may be kind of,
But for example,
we'll know if they're done. Like, you know, like you'll know, like if they lose a TV deal,
For
and Chris
example,
Jericho doesn't renew, and we'll know when they're done.
they could stop recording live and,
Yeah.
and airing live, right? That'd save a shit ton of money. They could stop traveling, and they could have a Impact Zone in Jacksonville where
Right,
he
Daly's
owns
place.
where he owns so much property and so much infrastructure, where they could sell out every single night. He could kill it every single night. You know, the idea that they're going bankrupt, could they become irrelevant? Now you've got my ear, because now I'm like, could they get so small that, like Impact, they essentially become irrelevant?
Right.
If all these things happen, for sure. But the idea that the promotion goes away, gets shelved, or gets bought by WWE or whatever, certainly in the next 24 months, I have a hard time believing that that is what could happen. I think that even if they lost MJF, even if the Warner Brothers deal fell through, if it truly is a labor of love, which was the way it was pitched 4 years ago when the network was started, if it's a labor of love, he'll either A, throw more money at it and let it continue to stumble on.
He's
to see
doing
if it
that with
really
the signings.
Yeah,
He's
but-
signing people like crazy.
Look, hang on. First of all, we don't know, and this is why the $200 million number kind of bothered me. It's like, what does that mean? Does that mean that he needs $200 million in order to break even? Does that mean that he needs $200 million in order to justify continued expansion? How much would he need to grow the brand in order to justify the $200 million that he needs to break even? Like, what if he just chooses not to grow that quickly? Can he make it on $100 million a year? And what's the current revenue at? We'll never know that because it's a private company, but are they currently making $100 million a year? Like, you know, when you go into a show, it's pretty easy to hit your break-even point because you're splitting, you know, you're making your tickets and you're splitting concessions.
The one thing with Tony
you're
Khan, I
making
will
the
say,
points.
the one thing I will say with Tony Khan is I think I debated the whole closure or downsized, you know, and the reason I went away from downsized is I don't think Tony Khan would go through what TNA went through the last 10 years. I don't think he has it in him to do it. Tony Khan's either big or nothing, right? I don't think he can go, I'm going to have a little company that has... I just don't think he can. I don't think he can. I mean, and I think there are people there. I know Tony Khan runs the show, but there are people there that are saying, look, Tony, we ain't dishing out another $65 million for you to lose this year. Sorry. I mean, look at all the
You
teams
think
they own.
Daddy's gonna?
Yeah, look, the money is, you know, say what you want. I mean, they own like what, 3 or 4 other sports organizations, soccer club, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, they know when something's not making money. And I think if you look at lose at MJF, now you just lost your TV deal. If you're a wrestler backstage, what the fuck am I doing here? I mean, MJF just left. They lost him. We were not even on TV anymore. What am I doing here?
Right, but there is a lifeboat mentality, which is like, yeah, this place sucks, but what am I going to jump in the ocean?
and
I
he's
mean, there's
already
nothing else
he's
out there.
already losing the fans.
I already have the freedom to go to any other independent promotion I want and work at any time. So why shouldn't I stay in this lifeboat?
Right.
If I
My
can
hope,
go anywhere
at
else?
the end of the day, just to sum it up, and I'll let I'll let him say. At the end of the day, I look at Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Warner Brothers. They all seem to be looking the other way, and that's not good. And they're all key players. Not good.
I still don't agree with your CM Punk theory that he wanted out, but the only thing I can think is in the beginning of AEW for the first 10 months to a year, they didn't have TV. They were just doing pay-per-views. They were doing quarterly pay-per-views, and they built their buzz just off of that. So I think like he said, I see it more downsizing. 2 years, I don't think they'll go out of business that quickly. I'll be very surprised and very heartbroken.
And they're not
But-
signing the kind of names that WCW was signing at the kind of crazy rates that they were signing wrestlers at. You know, I mean,
They're signing a lot of
finances aren't out of control enough.
they're signing a lot of big names, former WWE guys, but they're signing a lot more young people, indie talent.
They're not losing from lack of spending money. Tony Khan has definitely spent money. You know, Ring of Honor, like he's buying everything he can buy. I mean, I really think he's lost the goodwill of the fans. I think people are like, it's like you said, it's repeated storylines. It's the same thing.
If Tony
you know.
Khan, and here's my other thinking, and this is where I agree with you. If Tony Khan signed Ric Flair before he renewed with MJF, he deserves to go out of business.
That's true.
I really don't think I don't think he signed. I really don't think he signed.
With the Ric Flair thing, though, I just read recently that because of that energy drink deal, it balanced itself off like it did with Macho Man and Slim Jim. His whole contract is basically the same as the energy drink deal, so they're not really losing any money on that.
And by the way, give Sting an acting award because I read that he knew about Ric Flair.
Oh. Well,
I forget the source. I forget the
That's
source. It was on Cage Side Seats, but there was a source that said
kind of sucks. But
Ric
give
Flair
him an Emmy.
that Sting knew about. Sting was the only one that knew about it. So give him an Emmy. Give him a primetime Emmy because that was a great one.
Yep, that was good. All right, let's wrap this up. That was your bold statement within...
Bold, Steve. That needs to be highlighted on the bold. It's going to be like a red alert. Woo! Anytime we have bold alert, and then that's what we got to do.
So by the end
I love this. You want to be held accountable.
Yep.
I love it.
I really think it's... I don't think anyone's saying it, but the writing's on the wall.
Here we go. By the end of 2025, if AEW is still in business, he is forever the Divas Champion.
We'll have to tattoo the belt across.
There you go.
I'll cancel the show a week before that comes out. All right.
And WWB is out of business.
Yeah, that's the real prediction.
All right, on that note, leave in your comments below what you think of that bold statement. Is he right? Is he wrong? Let us know what you think about all the other news we talked about. Check out our social medias. They've been flashing up on the screen here every so often, so get involved in those. And
He's back on X now. So
Yeah,
now
finally got it
He can
fixed,
start getting
so we'll
going
be-
back into feud with some people.
There we go.
I got out of X jail.
There you go.
No, I didn't get banned. We'll talk about it later.
On that note, you keep watching. We'll keep wrestling with the business.